Welcome to another exciting episode of Launching Logistics, where we bring you conversations with industry leaders who are transforming logistics, shipping, and supply chain management. I'm your host, Jim Becker, and today we have an incredible guest joining us, Jake Battles, Vice President of Business Development at REPOWR. Before we get into our conversation with Jake, I want to touch on something that's increasingly vital in today's logistics landscape: the role of innovation and technology. The logistics and shipping industry are undergoing rapid change, and staying ahead requires more than just experience. It requires adaptability, a forward-thinking mindset, if you will. From AI to automation to real-time tracking systems and data-driven decision-making. It's not just about moving goods from point A to point B, not anymore. It's about doing it smarter, faster, and more efficiently than ever before. Companies that embrace these innovations are seeing huge gains in efficiencies, cost savings, and customer satisfaction. In an industry where every minute counts, having an access to real-time data, predictive analysis, and optimizing routes can really make a difference between being a leader and falling behind. In today's episode, Jake is going to share insights on how REPOWR is bridging the gaps in trailer logistics using innovative technology to create real-time visibility and smarter trailer utilization. We'll also discuss how REPOWR is helping carriers, brokers, and shippers streamline their operations by providing access to a vast network of trailers without long-term commitments. Whether you're in logistics, transportation, or supply chain management, the concepts we'll cover today are crucial for anyone looking to stay competitive in this fast-evolving industry. So buckle up, because today's conversation is packed with actionable insights that could help you optimize your operations and embrace the future of logistics. Without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Jake Battles from REPOWR and hear how technology is changing the game for logistics companies everywhere. So as we get into this, Jake, I'd really like to hear more about you. I knew getting you on this podcast, it was going to be pretty much a slam dunk because of all of your education actually in public speaking. So tell us a little bit about your public speaking. I don't know if that goes with your DJing as well, and now landed you here, and then finish it up with where you are right now.
Sure. Yes. I studied public speaking at the University of Lynchburg and rhetoric. I was very fascinated with how to communicate effectively with the verbal medium. And I actually transitioned that into a job with the university. I was a sports announcer for them for 4 years. And while doing that, it kind of developed into a side hustle, if you will, of a DJ. I DJed fraternity parties. And then as I got older, those fraternity parties turned into weddings and then corporate events. And so I've been emceeing events for the last, oh my goodness, almost 20 years now. So I've done everything from events for Honda Jet out of North Carolina to, oh my goodness, different institutions and over 250 weddings. And then that has translated into a career in sales, where now I work as the Vice President of Business Development for REPOWR, which is building the first universal trailer network of a shared trailer marketplace, allowing 3PLs, shippers, carriers, and OEMs to seamlessly share assets in the transportation space.
Well, that's awesome. And it's so great to meet you. I know we were talking a little bit in the beginning, and then we get this opportunity to really, you talk about rhetoric. We have a discourse right here between you and me, which is really great. So as we move into this, we could really talk about how REPOWR can really help an organization. You know, I talk about the largest warehouse in America is our trailers. I'm not sure if you've ever thought of it that way, but that's the first thing that landed over here. Understanding how many carriers that we have out in the United States, and furthermore, how many trailers we actually have, which is more than our asset base tractors that we have out there of Class 8, of course. So as we go through that, how long have you been over at Repower now?
I've been at Repower for, man, almost 3 years. January will be 3 years I've been here. So I was the fifth employee hired at Repower prior to our seed fundraise round. And I've been leading our business development and sales department since the very beginning. Now we're over 30 employees, and we're just wide open, like you and I were talking about earlier. It's been quite the roller coaster.
Oh, I hear you. And you know what? That's what growth is. Business is a roller coaster. Self development is a roller coaster. Just being human being is self development. It's a roller coaster of ups and downs, ups and downs. And it's our responsibility to really control those heights and the lows. So over at Repower, it really, you're really out to cause something between the asset based and the brokers and maybe more. What are the pains that carriers are running into, and or what are the pains that us brokers are running into? Kind of talk about the purpose being at a startup like that at such an early stage.
Prior to my time at Repower, towards the end of my career at Covenant Transport Group, I was working in their equipment leasing division. I leased trucks and trailers to carriers between 5 trucks and 500 trucks. And during the time of 2020 and 2021, the process, if everybody needed equipment, but the process to get it and find it was very cumbersome, and for the right reasons, right? Everyone's wanting to underwrite, analyze risk. But a lot of times what I was noticing was a lot of people just needed trailers for short term. They just needed them for, 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, short term storage solutions, as you mentioned about our largest warehousing assets being our trailers, right? And I started working with Repower as an idea of the shared trailer network, that the Airbnb meets U-Haul of trailers, right? You should be able to go find a trailer if you need it for a short term, execute a short term agreement, service your customers in a cadence that was quicker than what existed in the marketplace. And so as I got introduced to the Repower team, the bug just really kind of got buried in the back of my brain. Like, there has got to be a better way to procure assets. And some of the data that really stuck out with me is that 97% of all trailers that are owned by less than 3% of the total fleets, at about 4.6 million trailers. But 90% of trucking companies operate 90% of trucking companies that operate have 6 or fewer trucks. So there's this massive disparity between who owns the trailers and who needs the trailers. But as we've seen, as the market has taken a shift over the last 2 years, there's idle equipment everywhere, but there are still needs for trailers that Repower can help fill every day. And so another interesting factoid that I learned from Great Dane a few years ago was that the average trailer spends in 75% of its lifespan detached from a truck. So when you think about all of this available capacity, all this available space in, markets that are extremely hot, where everyone needs trailers, they need freight, they need them all the time, to now where it's more strategic. We need assets in specific locations for specific periods of time. Repower has found a way to utilize the software to deploy assets immediately with real-time connection, and being able to support brokers, smaller fleets, and their customers in a more fluid exchange than has existed previously.
This is great. One question I have for you is, it sounds like you're really taking advantage of that digital footprint as you move forward. Are you guys doing this through blockchain? Are you just doing this through a digital footprint? Are you doing it through API? What's the process of how you're really connecting all of this?
We utilize a lot of API connections. We have partnerships with Skybits. We're working on getting Orbcom. We have Samsara, we have Fleet Locate, Spirion, and a host of other telematics providers that will API our partners' approved assets into the Repower system, which then allows them to post available trailers for reposition or short-term rental, and then track the location of those trailers while on rent. And so one of the really neat features of Repower that I'm particularly proud of, and we worked on it for a long time, is what I call our smart visibility, right? So if Becker Logistics needed 10 trailers for a project and they procured them from one of our partners, and some of our partners include Swift, Knight, Schneider, Werner, US Express, Covenant, a host of others, you would have access to the visibility from some of those trailers while they're on rent to you. So if you needed them for a storage or you needed them for a power only network, the visibility of those trailers are actually piped in through REPOWR to your user interface. So you have tracking for the time that you have rented the trailers for. And then when those trailers are returned, that rental term is over, the tracking goes away. Just like a VRBO lock that sends you a code, it works the same way. And so you're creating visible, tangible solutions to service your customers without actually needing to own the asset or commit to a long-term lease to deliver those results to your customers. And I think having that type of flexibility in today's environment is more important than ever. Correct. The biggest differentiator with REPOWR is that REPOWR doesn't lease any of these assets. We're digitally connecting. If Becker Logistics wanted to rent Schneider trailers, for example, Becker can go onto REPOWR, create an account, and request to rent 10 Schneider trailers out of a location that are posted. And Schneider approves it. Becker checks the trailers out through a digital vehicle inspection report, uses them to service your customers, returns them to a designated location when done, and then you're done. There is no long-term commitments or anything like that. It provides you the flexibility that you need or any of our partners need to service the customers while maintaining, capital expenditure and understanding what their, cost benefit analysis needs to be to achieve profitability in today's market.
That's fantastic. And there is a lot of time that a trailer is just sitting around, especially on a drop and hook scenario. I've known out of going to customer, there's a lot of our customers and a lot of other customers that are just using trailers for that extra warehouse space, right? We've all seen it.
We used to call that the dilemma of the shippers holding the trailers hostage. In the brokerage world, everyone talks about holding loads hostage and things like that. But especially during the boom of 2020, during COVID, Home Depot, TJ Maxx, these large conglomerate shippers would require a 30 trailer pool to win the business and maintain it. And then the trailers would just sit there loaded or sit there idle for, days and days and days. And you're sitting there going, you need to maintain 30 trailers for this shipper and 10 over here and 4 over here. And that's why the average fleet has a dry van trailer pool of almost 4 vans to every 1 truck, which leads to that factoid I said earlier about with Great Dane saying that 75% of trailers spend their time detached from trucks. I would love to get the data on how often those are sitting loaded versus unloaded, but that'll be for a different conversation.
That's a totally different conversation. I've had some of those conversations. How many trailers are you responsible for at this point in time?
So on average, REPOWR executes between 15 and 1,800 of these transactions on a monthly basis on the platform. Right now, through our carrier partners, we have access to, in one form or another, over 250,000 trailers. And you think about some of our partners like Knight, Swift, Schneider, and others. We're talking trailer pools in the 15, 20, 30,000 per customer. Now, are they all? Do we have access to them all at the same time? No. But, when we're looking at REPOWR, which fundamentally started as a way to capitalize on out-of-network equipment, right? So when REPOWR first was getting started, we would service a lot of customers that would have heavy trailer imbalances in the Pacific Northwest, Salt Lake City, Denver markets. And we were creating a platform that would allow carriers or other parties to rent those trailers for 21, 30 days and reposition them from one market to another. And that continues to happen every day on REPOWR. If you're running a power only load through Schneider Freight Power, Hunt 360, Knight Freight Box, or any of the other power only offerings that are out there, and then you get from point A to point B and you drop your trailer and you can't find another power only load, you can go on REPOWR right now, search your location, find a trailer, even if it's for 3 days to get you from Phoenix to Dallas, or if you want it for 30 days and you want to put significant revenue into your business without committing to a trailer, you pick a trailer up in Phoenix, you run it for 4 weeks, you drop it off in Dallas, and then you get another trailer out of Dallas, and you can pre-plan your truck with trailers that are available to rent on REPOWR right now for as short as 2 days or as long as sometimes 6 months, depending on what the asset owner will allow the trailer to go out for. It's really kind of bridged the gap between power only and a leasing company And that has been what I and REPOWR set out to do for the last 3 years, is find a way to get people on-demand access to the trailers they need to support their businesses.
That's awesome. Now, we're dealing with a lot of different things in this deflationary marketplace where a lot of people are actually performing scams within the industry. And what are you seeing right now with Repower? Are you running into scams? Are you able to stop those scams with the processes that you have in place? Tell us a little bit about those scams that are happening, and are you falling, lure to that or not?
During my early days of REPOWR, we were using Carrier 411 a lot to vet, as well as Safer Watch and some other tools to vet and make sure that the carriers that are signing up for REPOWR actually have the authority to rent these trailers based on the organization they're signing up under. And we've had issues with bad actors just like everybody else. But what has really separated us over the last year is our partnership with Highway. Being able to focus on carrier identity, being able to focus on making sure that the emails and phone numbers align, checking associated digital activity, and being able to partner with the Highway team and build the integrations that we have has really put us ahead of a lot of the operational issues and vetting processes that we had in place prior to our integration with Highway. The Highway integration allows the asset owner to see in the user interface the person who's requested access to their trailer, how long they've had their authority, their insurance, what type of authority they have, whether it be common contract, how long they've been in place, and then also how many reservations they've done on REPOWR, and to give them more information about accepting these reservation requests, which is the terminology we use for these rentals. And so being able to verify the carrier identity has really helped as this deflationary market has continued to see an increase of bad actors in our space.
One thing that I was wondering also about was what what do you see some of the struggles that Repower's been running into now that you have 30 employees? What are some of the challenges of growth that you're really hitting the wall up against as you start to really broaden that footprint?
The biggest challenges for growth that we've seen are continue to diversify our renter base, right? So when we started, freight market was hot. Owner operators were a massive part of our renter base. People that needed equipment, they needed it now. They may not have had the credit or the means to get a long-term lease. And as this market has continued to churn a lot of our renter base, we have had to build our product to be more serviceable for freight brokers, shippers, and making that access, that on-demand access to trailers more widely available and more well-known, right? Working with our marketing teams and working with companies like Costco, working with companies like McKee Foods and other large shippers, and being able to educate them and get in front of them of how they can deploy this technology to improve their operational efficiency as everyone is trying to, kick over every rock and find every quarter and dollar they can, being able to get in front of them and show them how these tools can be used for not just owner operators, not just a alternative to a loadout trailer, but really being able to see and deploy these trailers into their networks. And we've had really good success, but we're continuing to keep the pedal to the floor of getting these use cases out and in front of different verticals within the space.
Oh, that's great. Now, speaking about all that, what are some of the goals that Repower has for the rest of this year remaining and stepping into 2025?
Well, our goal is to get more supply, right? When you operate a marketplace like we do, there's a healthy relationship between supply and demand. You don't want to oversaturate one way or the other. But what our metrics are telling us is the more trailers that are on the marketplace, the more of them that get rented. And so we're constantly juggling, how many trailers. We don't want to oversaturate this market. But what we have seen is the different types of equipment, right? More specialized equipment, reefers, flatbeds, drop decks, things like that people need, but they may not need long term, as a lot of the freight, cycles, reefers going through the summer and then into the holiday months, especially with building season in the summer with flatbeds. So we're focused on getting different types of equipment and more types of equipment on the marketplace, more RGNs, tanker trailers, belly dumps, things like that people will have opportunities if they knew anybody who had that trailer, right? Like, I don't know how many times in the space, you could be able to service this customer that has a unique opportunity. They came to you for help and it requires equipment that you don't even really know where to get. So REPOWR is really focusing on getting more equipment, more different types of equipment, and then also saturating markets that are continuously needing equipment. The Dallas market, Atlanta, Chicagoland, making sure we have enough dry vans in those locations, Memphis market, Southern California. The freight hubs, making sure we have ample supply to service our customers. As we talked about focusing on these shippers and 3PLs, when customers reach out and they say, I need 100 trailers here, or I need 50 trailers here, you've got to make sure you have partners and assets in place to deliver on those when you start going after those opportunities. So my team and I are focused on growing our existing relationships and bringing on new relationships and driving value for both the equipment owners and the renting parties that need the equipment, and making sure we're delivering a seamless and positive of an experience on both sides of the marketplace.
Well, that's awesome. And are you able to tap into most of the TMSs that are out there? And which one is the primary one that you're tapping into?
We have not done a TMS integration yet. It has been on our list. We've been focused on the telematics integration thus far. But if anybody's listening to this that works at McLeod, please call me, because that's the one that keeps coming up that I would love to see an integration with. I have some friends at Trimble that I would love to get in with TMW. And again, being an asset back, and I'm asset based, those are what my experience is in. The broker TMSs, I don't have nearly as much experience with, but I would defer to you, Jim. What TMS does Becker use, and which ones have you used in the past that you think that we should reach out to?
Well, that's a great one. I mean, I've been on McLeod software for the last 13, 14 years.
I've talked to Bruce McLeod a couple times. I played around a golf with him, and he was an absolute riot of a guy to talk to.
Do you live down in Chattanooga? Is that where you're based out of?
That's correct. I live in Chattanooga. I've been here for a little over 10 years. The founders of REPOWR were originally from Birmingham. Really cool story. Two guys that went to high school together, ended up going different places for college, but then came back to Birmingham after college. One of them was working for an asset-based trucking company. The other one's working in a commercial insurance space. And when COVID hit, everyone was kind of working from home and trying to figure out how to navigate the challenges. And these two guys just really kind of got infatuated with, if there's nobody has access to trailers, but there are trailers sitting everywhere, why is there not a way to connect these two parties, right? And so they ended up working together after hours in one of them's basement, and they ended up getting a small town grant to try to get this off the ground. And they both decided to roll with it. And that was in, I guess, early 2021. And so really fascinating stuff. But yes, to go back, our headquarters is in Chattanooga, but we have employees kind of all over the place from the development side. My chief commercial officer, Cassie Queen, is based out of Minneapolis. She joined our team about 3 months ago, and we've got some other people that are kind of strategically placed around the country, but the vast majority of our operation is based here in Chattanooga.
Okay, great. So two guys from Alabama rolled up into Chattanooga. And you live in Chattanooga. So are you a UT fan or a Roll Tide fan?
I'm an Alabama fan, but I do want to preface that with, my dad played baseball at Alabama in the early 80s, and I grew up an Alabama fan living in North Carolina when there weren't any up there, right? Alabama, when I was watching it, had Mike Shula, and we were bad. I grew up watching Alabama get beat every weekend, most of the time, and watching my dad scream at a television. And so when I was in undergrad is when Nick Saban came to Alabama, and the last couple of years of me in school at Lynchburg in Virginia were a really good time. And then I came to Chattanooga and was really excited to get into SEC football country. And candidly, I got around a lot of Alabama fans down here and understood why people have a disdain for Alabama fans in public. And so it has been quite the roller coaster. I'm excited for Tennessee. They're on a good run. They're on the upward trajectory. I'm excited for this new chapter of Alabama football that we have coming. But it's a really exciting place to live if you're a college football fan. Chattanooga is about equal distance from Tuscaloosa to Athens to Knoxville and Nashville. It's a really exciting kind of melting pot of college football fans in this town.
Absolutely. I used to be a Volunteers fan in high school, and I know there's always been this rival between Alabama and UT. I think that's why the Orange got a little faded after a while. It got washed out by the Tide too much. And then you got War Eagles over there. So I try to stay out of all that, but I'm a Northwestern guy, so
Have
Big
you
Ten
been to
guy.
their temporary stadium?
You could say that.
Yeah. Well, the pictures they post, it looks gorgeous. But all I can think about is how cold that field is going to be in about November, end of November. And I'm just like, man, I know that these guys from Northwestern are used to playing in Chicago, but that looks like a different level of cold. I don't know how many people are going to be sitting in those stands.
Yeah, it's cold up here. I've been to a few of those games, and let me tell you, between that and Chicago Bears, they get little brisky, if you will.
Bears are due. The Bears are due for a good season.
They are due. They've been hurting for a while, so we'll see what happens. So back to your DJing. You do special events. You still do this on the side, yes?
I've got two young daughters, so I don't do it as much as I used to. But yes, like I'll do Christmas parties. I'll do a couple events from time to time. I've done fundraisers for different organizations around Chattanooga and things like that. When you've been doing it as long as I have for those type of events, I have the equipment. I've got playlists that I've made from years ago, and so it's really easy to be able to donate time, donate experience for things like that. I'll do a couple weddings a year, but in my heyday, I traveled up and down the East Coast and did radio work and opened for people and did fraternity parties at UNC Chapel Hill. I did a lot of those, did some for Hammond Sydney in Virginia, Virginia Tech. And that was a wild time in my early 20s, just traveling around in a little Toyota hatchback with speakers and a laptop playing fraternity parties. But again, from a marketing standpoint, if you play enough fraternity parties, those people get married, they're going to remember you, they pay. And so, DJing weddings pays a lot better than fraternity parties. I'll tell you that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to make sure I preface that at the end of our meeting here, because not only are you there for Repower to really help asset-based companies out with trailers and such, but also customers as well as brokers to really keep that trailer moving, keep everything rolling, if you don't mind me saying. And in addition to that, there may be some opportunity for you over there just on the side, even though you have two daughters. How old are your daughters?
I have a 2.5-year-old and a 5-month-old. So,
Oh, congratulations.
thank you. My life is run by little blonde girls telling me what to do.
My life is ran by blonde girls also. I've got a 14-year-old that's a freshman that's running cross country. Her freshman year, made it to varsity, probably because she's running a 6.5 minute mile for a 5K. So I went to go watch her this weekend, and she was 10th in an invitational. So I was pretty shocked by that. And then I've got a sixth grader. She's 11 years old. So two blonde heads, and of course, mom's blonde as well. I used to be blonde also, but I shaved my head. So go figure.
Little girls are the best. They're so sweet. And I'll have two little girls to take care of me when I get old instead of trying to track down a boy. So I'm really excited about that too.
Well, that's awesome. Well, listen, anything you want to say before we end here? I just want to acknowledge you for being here. It's been a pleasure to really understand more about what Repower does and what your role is as a vice president of development and sales. Any final words from you?
If you are curious about how to either access equipment or deploy equipment, please reach out to myself or Cassie that I mentioned earlier in the podcast. We're idea people, right? The benefit of working for a startup is we like talking to people about ideas. We don't always need to work on something that you need right now, but we can help you with that too. But if you're just curious about how to procure equipment or how you might be able to leverage a tool like Repower in your toolbox, please reach out to us. We're happy to discuss opportunities, to discuss use cases, give you a demo of what the product looks like. And also worth mentioning, Repower doesn't charge for seats, right? We don't charge you to create an account. If you have an active DOT, you can create an account, log on, and you'll see over 1,500 trailers available today that you may think or need at some point. And you just want to see how it works. It's free to look at. It's free to shop around. And if you have any questions about the usability of the interface or how it works, let us know. Our team's happy to help you.
All right, Jake. Thank you so much, my friend. Listen, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in to today's podcast with Repower and Jake. We really appreciate you tuning in, and thank you so much. Have a blessed day. That brings us to the end of another insightful episode of Launching Logistics. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Jake Battles from REPOWR as much as I did. What stood out to me during the chat that we just had, how crucial it is to rethink the assets that we take for granted in the logistics. Trailers often sit unused for the majority of their life cycle, and REPOWR's platform is turning that inefficiencies into actual opportunity. Another key takeaway from today's episode is the role that technology plays in making this all possible. REPOWR is ensuring that companies not only have access to trailers when they need them, but also have the data to track and optimize their usage. In a world where real-time information is actual king, these innovations are a game changer for small fleets and large organizations alike. But beyond the technology, what really resonated was Jake's emphasis on relationships. Whether it's with customers, partners, even internal at REPOWR, this human element is often overlooked, especially in industries like logistics, that can really feel very transactional. Yet, as Jake pointed out, it's the relationships and trust that drive real sustainable growth. Before we wrap up, I want to thank Jake for taking the time to share his insights with us today. It's clear that REPOWR is not only solving a logistics problem, they're offering a whole new way to think about trailer utilization. And to you, our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you found today's episode valuable, please make sure to subscribe and leave a review. Your feedback really helps us continue bringing you the best content possible. If you're interested in learning more about REPOWR or want to connect with Jake directly, we've included links in the show notes, so don't hesitate to reach out and see how it's really working and how he can help you with innovative solutions. Until next time, stay innovative, stay engaged, and keep moving forward in your business. I'm Jim Becker, and this has been Launching Logistics. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.